Good morning, I'm Barbara Kay, here with Susan Pertnoy. Welcome to Mosaic, Jewish Federation of Palm Beach County's weekly news magazine show. Mosaic explores Jewish topics here in the Palm Beaches and around the world.
Today's Jewish community offers a variety of ways for people to connect to Jewish life based on their interest, location, or schedule. On today's episode, we'll explore how, of all areas of interest, basketball has fostered Jewish identity in community members locally and across the globe.
This morning on Mosaic, we'll speak with the director and star of a new documentary, chronicling an iconic game for Israel's basketball team that put the Jewish state on the map.
We'll then sit down with a community member who's helping teens in the Palm Beaches build their Jewish identity through basketball.
We'll be right back with Mosaic.
They say that caring for the elderly is a profession of the heart. As the director of home health care at Morse Life, I know that to be true. When I see an older person feeling safe and secure at home, I know I've done my job. To make a difference, to show compassion, dignity, and respect, it's not just our job, it's our mission.
Morse Life Home Health Care.
Morse Life Health System, honoring senior living.
Welcome. Such a pleasure to have you here, Del Brody.
Thank
what
you,
a
Laura.
joy. And you two, oh my God, Dave Menken. You're the director and you're the star of The Map, the remarkable movie, The Map. Tell our viewers what The Map is about.
Well, it's on the map.
You're the map.
Ala mapa in Hebrew.
Uh-huh.
And I think, it's a wonderful sports story that shows how basketball in Israel have influenced the culture, the education, the spirit of the country in such a critical period of time after we lost 11 of our athletes in the Munich Olympics, after we're all in the synagogues in Yom Kippur, and there was a sneak attack by Egypt and Syria, and then the Jordanians joined in, and we lost over 2,600 soldiers, and another 4,000 injured. And it wasn't a family in Israel that didn't feel that. And all of a sudden comes a basketball team, and the team wins over the Soviet Union. It's not Russia, the small Russia of today, which is not so small.
It was 1977, right?
77, of course. Right. And here comes a basketball team that lifts the nation. And the spirit and taking people out of mourning, the nation out of mourning, and bringing pride. And it's just amazing to see that a sport team can do this. And it's not only that we went on to win against the Soviet Union, and it was especially, it's what they call CSKA Moscow, and it's the team of the Red Army, the Russian Army.
Right.
And everybody in Israel knows that the Russian army is basically all the Arabic countries' advisors that are trying to throw us into the sea. And here comes Israel. And here comes the Israeli public that knows that we're playing against the Russian army team.
Yeah, wow.
The
Yeah.
game is broadcast back to satellite. And there wasn't a person in Israel that wasn't watching this game.
Yeah, but it really changed the whole picture for Israel in many ways. Because you mentioned the fact that Israel now is on the map.
Well, that's
And
true.
didn't that create a concept for a movie for you?
There was a nice symbol from what the team has done to what the country was going through. And that's why Tal came with this sentence, which became the title also of the film. Because, what was fascinating for me, that it was much, much more than basketball, and that's what makes a really good sports story. So for me as a director, which I was a very young kid when it happened, and I still remember it as a child, I couldn't believe that nobody has ever done a story about it. And when I started talking to the people in the United States about it and joined forces with Nancy Spielberg and Roberta Grossman that have done incredible film Above and Beyond, and my producer John Weinbach, we realized that the fact that most of the people in the United States have no idea about it gives us a great opportunity to come with that such a story that will make an impact, maybe just like Miracle on Ice has done.
Well, it's true. You know, did you ever think that you're going to be all over history and everybody's going to say, well, wow, that basketball player is something else?
Well, when you go through life, you don't really think about those moments.
No, you
know.
don't. You don't
But
even
as
contemplate.
life goes on, you look back and then you realize, and there's a lot of things in this movie which I realized, but when you look at the movie, when you talk about the map, but it's on the map, but it's not only that 3 words, it's that we are on the map, we are staying on the map, not only in sport, but in everything. And one of our members of the Knesset in the movie comes out very well and saying that here it was said something that we all had in our hearts, but we didn't know how to say it. And this American, barely speaking Hebrew guy
they
comes out and declares that we are on the map. And he says, you have to remember, 30 years ago, 1948, we weren't on the map. It was a British mandate of Palestine. All Jews and all Arabs were Palestinians and under the British mandate. And here, you're coming out with a statement that not only we are on the map, but we're staying on the map, not only in sport, but in everything. Is that has meant so much to our youth in Israel, that we compete against the world in technology, in medicine, in the arts, in culture, in everything. There's not too many things or events that you have in the world that you can't find somebody from Israel. If you look in how many Jewish Nobel Prizes that have been won
by the Nobel Prize,
Jews all over the world, not only from Israel. So we are here, and we are here to stay. I mean, nobody's going to remove us.
Nobody's going to remove you, yeah. You know something, by making the movie, though, you really made another statement, too. You said that, you know, Israel may have this kind of problem, BDS problems, all kinds of problems across this country. But when you bring out a movie like this and show the glory of what really can take place in a country like that, it's really something.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you feel that way?
I mean, I've been living in Israel for more than 40 years, so for me, it's kind of obvious, and I love when, you know, I'm touring with my movies, and, you know, especially now with On the Map, in the world and now in the United States, you know, people say, wow, it's a good, positive story coming out of Israel. I said, there are so many positive coming out of Israel. I mean, the gentleman here, you know, that's what he does. He tells positive stories about Israel, because people think that, you know, all we're dealing is, you know, is the Palestinian problem, and, you know,
Hezbollah.
And it's so much not like that, you know. And so, I mean, for us, in many ways, I mean, I think On the Map and that situation, I think it was a Lapid that says, you know, it brought us from one generation to the other, you know, from Israel that is really seeking to existence to Israel that is being established. And I loved, you know, the fact that, you know, I'm also, you know, I'm a basketball fan and I'm a Maccabi fan. So for me, it was really like, I was like a kid in a candy store, you know, I'm dealing with my childhood heroes, and I'm digging into the footage, trying to find maybe there is something nobody has seen, and luckily there was a lot of stuff nobody has ever seen. And putting it in a larger context, you know, and make it much more than just for people that love basketball.
We're going to allow our viewers an opportunity to see a little bit of a trailer of it in the TV program today, but because if they see it, they'll want to go and see it. We'll be back with the remainder of our program right after this brief message. Coming up, more from our interview with the director and the star of the new documentary, On the Map.
From empowering Jewish college students to stand up to anti-Israel activity on campus, to enabling seniors and Holocaust survivors to age with dignity, transforming, inspiring, saving, Jewish Federation of Palm Beach County is doing all of this here and around the world.
Well, welcome back. Prior to the break, we were talking about a lot of things that are glorious in terms of what he did and how you predicted it and performed it and produced it. But nonetheless, it's changed a lot of the perception about Jews in many ways, don't you think? By you going around with film festival all over the country showing this film?
Definitely, Barbara. I'm telling you, people don't realize that we have a life in Israel.
Right.
You know, this young guy has been 40 years in Israel since he's been born, but I've been 50 since finishing the University of Illinois.
Yeah.
And my position today as a Goodwill Ambassador for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, I'm coming into the United States and I'm on the campuses from the East Coast to UCLA on the West Coast and Yale and Harvard in between. And even I've been in Boynton and in Palm Beach in the Meyer School. I spoke to the kids there. And it's so unbelievable how little knowledge all over the campuses have about Israel. Thank God for Birthright and JNF and BBY and all the various programs that bring the youth to Israel, because otherwise, when I go to the campuses, if it wasn't for these youths that been to Israel, their questions are so much different than the youth that haven't been to Israel, and that they're influenced by the signs. And Israel is so different than the signs. They have to realize the signs, just because it's a sign, it doesn't mean that it's true. At all the various Muslim organizations on the campus, the Jewish kids are outnumbered. And it's a shame. We're very lucky. A lot of times we have the Kufi on campus, the Christians United for Israel, that are supporting us sometimes, the Jewish kids. And, you know, not only a few times, educating the Jewish kids on what Israel is. It's amazing. So all this BDS, I think it's going to start going out. And I think that the fact that Israel is on the map, and I think a film like this that could get to the campuses. We're going to be in IAC, which is the Israel American Committee, and most likely in APAC. They want to watch the movie this year as well. And I think these are the groups that's going to be able to tell the story that Israel there's another story. You know, we have Elton John, we have Beyonce, we have so many entertainers that are coming to Israel, but all you hear is about Roger Waters telling some sort of entertainer not to go to Israel, and because he says not to go to Israel, they didn't go to Israel. But the majority are coming to Israel. People don't want to give up their chance to go to Israel. There's nothing to be afraid of. We're probably the safest country in the world. Even the Europeans, the European Union, that has mocked Israel for so many years because of its security, are coming to Israel to learn about Israel's security in order to deal with all the bombings and all the mess that they got in Europe today. So you'll see a different movie and a beautiful story about Israel that every person that comes, doesn't matter the age, can relate to. It's not a basketball game. It's a basketball story about how this team that Danny brought out reflected and impacted the state of Israel in a difficult period of time, and it's still going on. You know that we won 6 times the European Basketball Championship since then, and over 18 times in the finals, and we're the only team outside of the United States that was featured and honored in the James Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame in Springfield, Massachusetts. How many people know that? That an Israeli team, we got an Israeli basketball player in the Sacramento Kings, Omri Caspi. That's, I think he's close to 6 years in the NBA, if not 7. And our first Israeli player in the NBA. And we're coming in. We played the Los Angeles Lakers, we played the Los Angeles Clippers twice, we played the Miami Heat, we played the Philadelphia 76ers, the Brooklyn Nets, the New York Knicks. We had 18,600 people cheering for Maccabi Tel Aviv in Madison Square Garden against the New York Knicks. And that's a story that people don't know. And I have to give this young guy credit that he put all this together when Israel didn't even have television my first season. How did he find all the information, all the clips? You know, television only came in after the 6 Days War.
Yeah, you know, you're right. You don't think about it in that regard. But that's precisely what this movie's supposed to help do. by going all over the country and showing all of the opportunity that took place and the winning factor, and makes them feel terrific. Because I hope you're right. I love what you're saying. I love the embracing of the world in regard to Israel. I hope you're right.
Well, every mother, every father, grandmother, and grandfather that sees this movie, they got a proud story to tell their children and grandchildren about Israel. And it's something they should not miss.
Do you feel that way too?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm a storyteller. So for me, first and foremost, it started, honestly, because it's a really good story. I would even say and argue, even if it was about another country, I would still be fascinated about it. But it is my country, and these are my childhood heroes. So it makes me, of course, more proud and more passionate about it. I mean, it's much more than a sports story, and for me, personally, it's much more than a movie. I'm also very happy and pleased for the fact that even people who are not our typical audience and not necessarily Jews or Israelis are fascinated about this movie, and we got incredible reviews by the LA Times, Hollywood Reporter, Wall Street Journal, and really we're crossing over to the mainstream, and that makes us even more exciting because
Also,
people need to know and see what Israel is all about.
Also, the Palm Beach Post. You were in the Palm Beach Post the other day. I'll save the article for you. Seriously, though, are there any questions that come out of your meetings that kind of set you off? I mean,
Well, the main question they always ask me that, how could I give up being the 12th and 13th draft in the NBA in 1965 and take a different road and take that challenge and go to Israel? And they always tell them that every year at the NBA All-Star Legend Banquet and the All-Star Weekends, this year it's going to be in New Orleans, they asked me, Tal, look, if today you're offered 12th round is about four point something million dollars a year. For 2 years, that's $8 million. Third year, if you're good, your contract opens up. If today you're coming out of college, would you still give up $4 million and go to Israel? I says, look, I'm not crazy. Of course I would take the money. But if I know that I have to give up 50 years, beautiful years in Israel, you can keep the money and I'll still take that road to Israel.
yeah. Well, he's determined as an Israeli, that's for sure. Your grandfather and your father should be proud.
Yeah,
They
I'm
were
sure
there.
they are. That's right.
For a while, anyway.
Well, my father's, it's another thing on the campuses. They ask me about Palestinians. I always ask them, the kids, I said, which Palestinians are you talking about, the Jewish ones or the Arabic ones? They don't even know that they're Jewish Palestinians. My father's a Palestinian.
Palestinian?
He lived in Israel from 1921 to 23, and my grandfather from 21 to 31. They're Palestinians. And then when I tell the kids that, they get stuck. They don't know what to ask me anymore. They got.
Well, let me just tell you something. The two of you should be very, very happy with yourselves. I congratulate both of you. You've done a wonderful job. Really wonderful job.
Yeah, thank you so much, and we want to thank the community to have supported us, and we're extremely excited that this film is coming also to Florida.
Yep. We're all proud of you. Thank you.
Thank
so
you.
much.
Coming up, we'll sit down with a community member who's helping teens in the Palm Beaches build their Jewish identity through basketball.
From empowering Jewish college students to stand up to anti-Israel activity on campus, to enabling seniors and Holocaust survivors to age with dignity, transforming, inspiring, saving, Jewish Federation of Palm Beach County is doing all of this here and around the world.
We're here with Jeff Stahl, who is a board member of our Mandel JCC and also the chairperson for the JCC Maccabee Games. Is that correct? Is that title correct?
It depends on where you come from. Some say JCC Maccabi, say JCC Maccabee, but we all know what everybody's talking about. So.
In our prior segment, we were discussing the basketball team, the Israeli basketball team, and
Right.
the Maccabi team. And you are here to put together a very, very wonderful organization. And can you describe what the Maccabee Games are and Art Fest?
Sure, of course. So some years ago, back in 1982, I believe, Memphis, Tennessee was the first to host the JCC Maccabee Games. So what it is was an opportunity to bring Jewish teens together in an Olympic-style type of event where a number of different sports were participated in a competitive and tournament style type of event, and it was a way for hundreds of Jewish teens to come together and participate in this really more than just a sporting event, but really an experience that has lasted a lifetime for these teens as they do all sorts of social things in the evenings. They stay with host families within the community, and it really galvanizes galvanizes the community. So that developed in 1982. Through the years, the JCC Maccabi Games was a sporting opportunity, but in the early 2000s, I believe, they added a component called Arts Fest. And Arts Fest gave the opportunity for Jewish teens who may not be necessarily interested in baseball or volleyball or softball, but more interested in the arts, such as music, or they have, for example, rock band, they have a culinary, they have track, they have what's called a star reporter, where someone gets to sign up as a Jewish teen and do journalistic type things throughout the week, and it gives the opportunity for Jewish teens across the spectrum now to either participate in the JCC Maccabi Games via the sports or through the JCC Maccabi Arts Fest through the arts. And it's thousands of teens now across not just North America, but across the world. We have delegations that come from Poland, from Great Britain, from Mexico, from Israel. So it really spans the globe, not just North America.
So once a year they come together and compete throughout the United States or all over the world? How does that work?
So there's usually three regions in the United States that host. So it gives the opportunity to schools let out at different times and they start back at different times. So it's usually the first week of August, the second week of August, and the third week of August. There's 3 cities that will host in those respective weeks. The Arts Fest takes place in only one of those 3 weeks, and it combines both the JCC Maccabi Games and Arts Fest. This summer, it will be in Miami, so it'll be close to home here in Palm Beach, where the Maccabi Games and Arts Fest will happen in Miami. The other 2 cities will happen in a different week, but for purposes of what our delegation will be doing in the greater Palm Beach area, we'll be participating in that Miami set of games and Arts Fest.
And what's our goal here at the Mandel JCC?
So the goal here at the Mandel JCC is to engage as many Jewish teens as we can. Like I said, it's a wonderful opportunity for 13 through 16-year-olds whose birthdays happen before July 31st. So long as you're 16 by July 31st, as long as you don't turn 17 by July 31st, you can participate. And the goal would be, especially with the community here in Palm Beach, where the arts are so important, and there's so many youth that are engaged in the arts, is to have not just dozens but hundreds of Jewish teens that come together and participate in this event. They stay with host families that are in the region. This year would be in Miami. They stay with their friends. They get to know each other, but more importantly, they get to meet people from all these other walks of life. And in many times they end up going to college together, rooming together, staying friends through social media. And it's really wonderful to see not just the sporting and the arts, but then in the evenings, all the social aspects that come to it. For example, there may be like a Dave and Buster's night or a Boomers night. Sometimes here in Florida they do things where there may be like a beach party, and there's plenty of staff, plenty of volunteers like myself who are there for the whole week, and the teens are always under great supervision, and they have a blast, and it really is memories that last a lifetime.
So tell me, why are you so passionate about this?
Well, I was fortunate enough, I played sports my whole life, and I was fortunate enough to play football through college, so I had some of these experiences, but many of my peers didn't necessarily get exposed to those types of things. So when I first, I'm an attorney now, but I started off in the JCC field.
Oh.
And I actually served as a delegation head for the Memphis JCC for a few years, and I saw this program for the first time. I didn't know about it as a child or as a teen, but as an adult and as a JCC staffer, I walked in, and the first time was in Houston, and we were where the Rockets play for the opening ceremonies, and I saw thousands of Jewish teens that were coming in, just like the Olympics, with their banners and the host cities, one after the other, and I saw the bonds that these Jewish teens were making, and I heard the stories of the coaches and the other delegations heads, and then from the teens themselves, from both the delegations that I was with, as well as the delegations from across the world, who were truly having an experience that was unparalleled to anything they'd seen before. So having seen that, it really made a deep-rooted passion in me that I wanted to make sure that everybody who was in that age bracket knew of this opportunity, and to do whatever I could to get them exposed to it, because this was an avenue that perhaps many of them may not have in any other venue.
Oh, that's quite a story, and you've really been going full speed ahead with trying to. Eventually, we're going to host it here, I think.
Good to hear.
Yes.
Yes.
That's our goal.
And it does. And when you host, it really galvanizes the community. It brings the corporations together. It brings the people together. It brings the community together from all walks, not just the Jewish community, which it absolutely does, but all the communities. It takes really a village to put on a set of games and arts fest. And when you do that as a host, you can actually take as young as 12 years old, so we can engage even more people. We get them started early. Once they get a taste, they almost always come back, and it would really be a wonderful opportunity for this community to do that type of thing and to really galvanize us.
It really would. Tell me about the Jewishness in the Maccabi games. What is it?
So every participant, every team that participates in the JCC Maccabi Games and Arts Fest has a touch to Judaism. And what I mean by that is that there's all walks of Judaism, just like there's all walks of every religion. So it's an honor system where we expect that the participants have either a parent that's Jewish, they practice Judaism. Sometimes there could be foster children or adopted children who may not have been born Jewish, but become Jewish, identify as Jewish, and in whatever form that they observe is fine. So once you get to the actual week and the event and the games, you look around and everybody there is Jewish, and it's quite mesmerizing, especially in those opening ceremonies with parents and people from the community. And you look around and there's literally thousands of people that are all Jewish and that are all there. And at the opening ceremonies each year, there's a portion where they honor the Munich 11, and it's an opportunity for many teens who may not know the story from the Munich Games, and to learn about that, and you can see how it touches them and how they start to identify with Judaism in a little bit of a different way. But then they also are making these friends that last a lifetime.
Absolutely. It's very exciting, and we can't wait to host it here. Thank you for joining us, Jeff.
You're very welcome. And if anybody wants to find out more information, Calvin Cannon here at the JCC in the Palm Beach is our delegation head, so they can email him or they can call the JCCs, and I'll be going to the games as well. I've been volunteering here in Palm Beach for almost 8 years now, and a number of years I'm going to be there. I'm excited to go, and I hope that we have hundreds of teams from our delegation in Greater Palm Beach that will come join me.
I sure hope so. Thank you.
You got it.
Coming up, final thoughts on Mosaic. Susan, have you seen the movie On the Map?
I have, and it's sensational. Everybody should see it.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yes, and you know what is also terrific? The fact that we have a thriving JCC Maccabi team that is available for our youth to come and join and participate in.
Here?
Yes, in the Palm Beaches.
Oh, how wonderful.
It is.
That is. Anyway, thank you so much for being with us, and be with us again next week when we have another look into the Jewish world. Goodbye from Mosaic.